Hello, our airports are at a standstill tonight as volcanic ash from Iceland drifts across the region, making air travel too dangerous.
The sudden cancellation of flights from Stansted, Luton and Norwich left thousands of passengers stranded. A national ban on all flights into and out of UK airspace came into force at midday today. It will remain in place until at least 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Elsewhere, military aircraft at the American air bases in Suffolk were grounded amid safety concerns, as were planes at RAF Wittering. And the East Anglian Air Ambulance remained on the ground from midday. In a moment, a live update on the travel prospects for passengers. That's after this from Andrew Sinclair.
We regret to announce that EasyJet departure...
April the 15th, the day the region's airports came to a complete halt. At Luton, the departure board was a sea of red. Passengers arriving at the terminal could only look on in disbelief.
We were just going for a long weekend for my birthday, which is tomorrow. Obviously, it's been cancelled.
They're offering refunds, but you'll only get your flight. Obviously, like your accommodation, you may lose it, but, you know, it's just one of them things.
You've got to laugh, really. I haven't flown since I was 9, and then a volcano erupts like the day that I choose to fly, so...
Unlike security scares which caused delays and some cancellations, this incident grounded everything. Passengers queued to try to salvage their journeys, while outside the last of the planes taxied onto the apron to stay put for the rest of the day. At Stansted, delayed passengers found novel ways to pass the time. Thousands of important journeys were disrupted. This family on their way to a family reunion in Ireland. And this group of girls who should have been in Mallorca by now.
Very disappointed, because we've been looking forward to it for such a long time now, and we're trying to reschedule for tomorrow. But we've had to look and it's already been booked out, so we're trying to get a later flight.
Passengers were advised to rebook online, but the system at the airport crashed. At Norwich, the early flights got in and then everything was cancelled for the day, including all helicopter flights to the North Sea gas platforms. Tonight, they are still cut off.
It means that crew changes will not be taking place as normal. Workers always want to get home fairly quickly, but safety of the workforce and the helicopter crews remains paramount for us.
And even though they fly low, the region's air ambulances have been grounded too.
This is an extremely caustic substance and could have either short-term and, for that matter, long-term implications for the engines. So it could be, if it ingested a lot of this debris, this material, it could have an effect upon the engine immediately.
Back at Stansted, this was the scene a short while ago. The terminal eerily empty, the departure boards all telling the same story. This will be a day passengers and the airline industry never forget. Andrew Sinclair, BBC Look East.
Well, we can talk now to Nick Barton, who is Commercial Director at Stansted. What is the latest situation as far as you know it?
Good evening, Susie. The position is that the airport is advising, along with all other airports, that there'll be no flights until at least 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So there'll be absolutely nothing moving tonight. And we're aiming to see an update of that information at around 8 o'clock this evening, at which point we and all of the airlines will update our various websites so that passengers and potential passengers can get some idea of what's going to happen tomorrow. But at the moment, we're not speculating as to what will be said at about 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
So do you know what needs to change before NATS says that planes can actually fly?
Well, it's all about safety, this issue, and it's entirely down to NATS to form a view as to what is going to be safe for aircraft, and there's going to be no risk taken, of course, on this issue. It's all about where this cloud of volcanic ash is moving. It is vast. It spreads from the UK all the way across the Scandinavian states to as far as Russia and Finland. And it's a question of where does it go next, because, of course, once it leaves the airspace around Britain, if it moves into Europe, then, of course, those aircraft can't fly into Europe. So it does have an effect on the airport, even if we can potentially fly tomorrow. So we're really looking forward to seeing what's said at 8 o'clock tonight.
Briefly, how difficult is this going to be for the airport, have this backlog of passengers and flights?
Very difficult. I mean, today's been an extraordinarily challenging day. and it's been a question of managing and looking after our passengers who have been severely disrupted by this issue. For us tomorrow, it's a question of getting good information out through the websites and through travel agencies and television sites who are giving good and clear information out, and that helps the passenger make a decision. The websites of airlines, of course, are going to be vital in this process of information sharing, and that will then allow passengers to make a decision on what they're going to do if they are flying tomorrow.
Nick Barton, thank you very much.
Well, one man who's come closer than most to the source of the problems is the writer Tony Eskrit. He lives at Aylsham in Norfolk and has just returned from Iceland.
This is Fimmvörðuháls, the Five Cairns Pass in Iceland. The same area has now erupted underneath an ice cap, causing today's cloud of ash. This was filmed just days ago by Tony Eskrit, who stood just 400 metres away watching the crater.
It's one of those wow moments. You know, you see it for the first time, you see the steam, you get closer, you see more steam, you get closer, then suddenly you see the lava, pulsating fountains of lava, and you just think, wow.
Tony Eskrit received a phone call in Norfolk to say the volcano was erupting in Iceland.
And then took the jeep right up over here.
He drove up and across one of the ice caps for 1.5 hours.
It's like a motorway up there at the moment. Quite extraordinary. We were standing on the opposite side of the chasm, which I suppose was 100 metres or more away, and you could feel the heat. The new eruption is actually slightly to the west. It's underneath the ice cap. It's melting the ice, and lava at 1500 degrees is instantly turning to ash, and that's just exploding up into the atmosphere. And that was going up around 7,000 feet yesterday.
Tony Eskrit travelled hundreds of miles to see this. He didn't imagine he'd come home to see its effects here. Debbie Tubby, BBC Look East.
Well, our weatherman Phil Garner has been keeping an eye on the plume from the volcano. What's been happening, Phil?
Thank you, Stuart. Well, let me say, first of all, it's hard to say quite how much dust there is there. It's suspended high up in the atmosphere. But this is the way the Met Office model has extended the plume. This is the way it is at 1 o'clock this afternoon. 7 o'clock this evening, it's across most of Britain. And if we step forward through to 1 o'clock tomorrow morning and even 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, I hope you can see the plume is still there. It's still across most of the UK. The reason why it's been moving in, if we take a look at our weather chart, well, we've got quite a big area of high pressure way to the west. That's been feeding the air in from this plume across us, and I'm afraid that high pressure is going to stay with us for a day or two yet.
Now, if everything's OK, the sunset tonight should be one to watch. If you get a good picture, we'd love to see it. You can email it to look.east@bbc.co.uk, but it might be too cloudy for that sunset.